On the first day of the Supreme Court's new term, the justices are already making headlines, deciding to take up a challenge of the world's biggest tech giants.
There was an inevitability that the Supreme Court sooner or later would have to confront the scope of the immunity that Congress has granted to social media platforms.
The case could open companies like Google, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter up to lawsuits for what they allow users to post. Right now, they're protected by part of a 1996 law known as Section 230, which shields tech companies from being legally responsible for content published on their sites. That means no company is required to act on disturbing content.
Any way you look at it, I think this has enormous ramifications for the landscape of social media in our country, which has gone very heavily debated but relatively unregulated for decades.
There are two suits. The first, stemming from a 2015 terror attack in Paris, says Google recommended ISIS videos on YouTube to users, which in turn helped with recruitment numbers. ISIS carried out the attack that killed 130 people. The other criticizes Twitter for not taking down content relating to another terror attack in Turkey.
In one case, it's that Google did exercise judgment, but the family says it wasn't really editorial judgment. It's not entitled to the protection of the federal statute. In the other case, Twitter is accused of not doing enough to wipe out the terrorist materials and therefore shouldn't be entitled to the protection of the federal statute.
But this law became even more political in 2020. Twitter began flagging then-President Donald Trump's tweets, which led him to call for a repeal of Section 230 and issue an executive order to limit its protections. Trump lamented the law in the days after the election and even on January 6th as he spoke on the Ellipse. President Joe Biden repealed the order when he got into office, but did raise questions about the law itself, taking issue with misinformation on these platforms. The CEOs leading these companies say repealing the law could hurt consumers.
Section 230 is the most important law protecting internet speech, and removing Section 230 will remove speech from the internet.
These companies and the public had indications the court could take up a case looking at Section 230. Justice Clarence Thomas said the court should weigh in back in 2020. The court will likely hear this case in early 2023, with a decision likely in late spring. Alex Miller, Newsy, New York.